My, good, you hear? I am so excited. Guess what? I hope this isn't about your podcast again. Why, did you finally listen to it?
Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. The Groomer Next Door production. You're listening to BYOTP Radio. Coming up next, the Groomer Next Door. The Groomer Next Door podcast.
Dun, 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 dun.
Hello, pups and kittens, and welcome to another fun-filled episode of The Groomer Next Door. I'm your co-host, Chris Green. Sitting next to me, as always, is the extremely fabulous Sarah.
Hello.
And we have Claire.
Hello.
Okay, I don't know where that came from, but okay. Alright, well this week, I'm really happy about this episode. A lot of fun.
Because you were on it.
Well, yes. Really great guest is coming up in just a few minutes. His name is Joshua Barnes. He is the vice president of caninecuisine.com. It is a great website for all of your pet needs. And what's great about it is it's a responsible pet product website that actually has the right products that aren't the generic garbage that you get in every one of your big box stores, your grocery stores. This is the place, the one-stop shop to get everything that you need and your pet needs.
Feel free to pause this podcast to go take a look at their website.
Yes, definitely. Or while you're actually listening to the website, go to caninecuisine.com.
Try that again.
Did I say pause?
No. You said listening to the website.
Oh, listen to the podcast and go visit the website. Thank
There we
you.
go.
Hey, look at that.
You know what this reminds me of?
Nope.
Is the King of Hill episode where he started in on that co-op and Hank Hill walked in with the beautiful cuts of meat and all this vibrant stuff, and then it turns into a regular big box store and everything's gray. Yeah, the regular box stores, when I go in looking for dog food, it's always gray, but you go onto their website and they have just an amazing amount of stuff.
Oh my gosh, it is crazy how good.
So, and looking forward to getting into more details.
And that will be coming up in just a moment. But before we get
to that, put the carriage before the horse.
Right? There you go. Or the sleigh in front of the dog sled.
Or the...
Okay, let's just keep going.
Okay.
This week's fact of the week. Dogs have lived with humans for over 14,000 years. Cats, on the other hand, have lived with people for only 7,000 years. And yet, I think our
litter boxes were created 7,000 years ago. That's the reason, I bet you.
Probably.
I bet there's a correlation between cat litter boxes and cats being with humans.
I like the idea. There is possibility to that. We're not going to actually do a weekly roundup this week because nothing really happened. We still have the kittens and Mama, so not much to update in that. But we do have a dog food recall alert. Alright, party people, well, let's get into this week's dog food recall alert. It comes from the Party Animal Dog Food Company. It announced it is recalling specific lots of 2 varieties of its Coco-licious canned dog food. Now again, just for that name alone, I'm out. But they actually found out that it tested positive for a drug called pentobarbital. That drug is used to euthanize dogs. Why it's being used in dog food or what the point of that is beyond me. And if you look back
Why would it be in the same area as food being made? That's what I don't understand.
I don't get it. And this is not the first time pentobarbital has come out as being in dog food. There was a mass recall just a couple months ago for the same thing. The following products are affected by the recall. Coco-licious beef and turkey. The size is the 12-ounce cans. Best by date was July of 2019. And the other one was the Coco-licious chicken and beef 12-ounce cans. I will have more on the description page, including UPC codes and everything else. But again, it is a recall for the actual drug pentobarbital being in there. I think that by the name of the company alone I was out, but for this reason, I am definitely out. And that concludes this week's edition of Dog Food Recall.
Oh, hello. Hold on a sec. Dad, we have a guest on the podcast.
All right, this week on the podcast, we are joined by Joshua Barnes. He has a great website called caninecuisine.com. Thank you very much for making some time and tell us all about your website.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and thank you for inviting me on your podcast. It's definitely listened to several of your last episodes, and I really enjoy it, the content that you produce.
Oh, cool.
So Canine Cuisine, we are kind of in a niche market, so our whole website is focused entirely on providing healthy pet products, both for dogs and cats, to our customers. The website was started back in 2007, and we're lucky enough to be able to say that we were actually one of the first online pet retailers that did focus solely on only providing healthy pet products. So that's kind of been our mantra and what we have been striving for and looking to achieve ever since then. So company was started in 2007, really out of a personal need. As pet owners ourselves, we had pets, and we started looking at the food that we were feeding them, and we realized, that food and the ingredients that are in it, it wasn't great. The quality of the food. Our pets were at the time were getting sick and having skin issues, and so we started doing a little bit of research on our own and came to realize, there's this whole other market of pet foods out there that are actually good foods. The same quality of type of foods that we would feed ourselves, and so we decided to go ahead and start Canine Cuisine as a way to provide an easy place for people all over the country to shop and get the products that they need for their pets. And so that's kind of how the business started. And I guess you flash forward 10 years now, and we're happy to say we've, over the last 10 years, helped tens of thousands of pet owners find, the products that they're looking for. And also we've gotten to know all of our customers, and it's really been a great experience.
When you said 10 years, I'm like, there's no way. 2007 wasn't 10 years ago. And oh my gosh, you're right. Wow.
Yeah, you think back on it, and 2007 seems like, when I talk to people about it, I'm like, oh yeah, a couple of years ago, and then you think, man, it's been a decade.
I'm surprised. I mean, my daughter was born 2008, and I don't even think that was, almost 10 years ago. I'm thinking, no, like what, 3, 4? Wow,
yeah, it's amazing.
It does. Yeah, I mean, it's funny though, because when you really think back to 2007, pet food wasn't. We had the big players in place, but nobody was really discussing, the harm that they were actually putting into their bags and even cans of dog food. And then all of a sudden, it became, I'm trying to figure out what happened. Was it because smartphones came out and all the information was right at our fingertips? Because that's the only thing I could think of.
I think a lot of it, it's two parts. I think one is the technology aspect, like you mentioned. 10 years ago, the number of people that purchased any product online was much smaller than it is now. And now we're at a point where, people are on their smartphones, or we're so connected now with everything online, whether it's through social media or just we're so used to searching the internet, finding what we need on there and shopping. And but I think the other part is, at least specifically related to pet foods, is people, at least especially the younger generations, are made up of a lot of working class people that they go to work from 8 to 5, 9 to 5, and then they come home and they've got their kids and their pets, and then they look down and the bag of dog food is empty. And being able to go on your computer and search and find the pet food that you need and have it delivered to you, within 1 or 2 days, for a lot of people, I think it's just so much easier than actually going to a pet store and walking in, finding the food, checking out, waiting in line, and all that. I think a lot of people, it's the convenience factor of it.
I would actually agree with that. And then, there's just so many different things that can go horribly wrong when you go into the actual store itself. And I'll kind of pop ahead on one thing, and that is, and this is just me. I will go into a market or a big box store, and I've asked this question to everybody that's been on the podcast that have any kind of dealings with pet food. I find myself, I'll look at a lot of people's baskets, and I'll see a bag of dog food. That's what draws my attention every time. And I'll look at their content, which is always name brand, soda, and really good food. But then I see that bag of dog food that's just garbage. And I just want to stop them and say, here, let me explain to you what is in there. From your perspective, do you ever just have that moment where you're like, that kind of metaphor of having a soapbox and want to stand on and go, listen to me, I've got information you need to hear. Do you ever go through that?
Honestly, almost every time. So, and this is kind of embarrassing to say, I do own a pet food store and we sell dog and cat foods, but I also have, personally, I actually have two small mammals. I have a chinchilla and a rabbit, and we just don't carry products for them on our website. And so I do find myself about once every couple of weeks having to go to the local big box pet supply store and get my rabbit food, my chinchilla food, and their treats and beds and toys and all that. And every time I'm in there and I'm waiting in line, like you mentioned, I look over and I see all the people around me with these bags of food that you do see typically in your grocery stores or your Walmarts or whatnot. And in the back of my mind, I think every time I look at one of those bags of foods, just based on the research that we've done, I cringe internally because I know that people were buying that food thinking that it's good enough for their pets, but in reality, if you looked at it and you understood what it was made from, how it was made, and what the ramifications of that is, it does kind of make you want to just shake them a little bit and tell them, hey, there's more to this than that. I think for me personally, what it really boils down to is we as humans, we all understand that diet plays such a huge role in our bodies, how long we live, and our quality of life. But however, for a lot of people out there, that doesn't seem to translate over to their pets. But in reality, what you feed your pets, it plays such a pivotal role in the quality of life that they live and how long they live and, if they get sick and things of that nature. And unlike us, though, whereas we have the choice of what we feed ourselves, our pets don't get a choice. And so it's really up to us as pet owners to make sure we're making responsible decisions for our pets.
I agree. And when we first started talking, and, I'll kind of give a little bit of which I normally don't do. I don't usually, bring up how did, how did the whole conversation start. But, it's funny. I'm on Facebook about a week ago, and you and I just started talking over your posting that you had, and it came up in discussion. As pet parents, we have a 3-year-old child that we have to care for, and it's as simple as that. I mean, if we told our 3-year-old child, "Hey, go and eat what you want," they're going to grab a box of cereal, stick their hand in it, or even end up in the dog or cat bowl, because that would be the mentality. Well, as parents, we got to look at it and go, I don't want you to have, flaky skin and all of the bloat. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, it just all kind of, blocks my brain here of just the terrible things that come with it. And I think to myself, well, we all should know this, but then I realize that's not the case. Shocks me, but
yeah. And and a lot of people I do talk to, of course, everywhere I go and everybody I talk to that I know owns a pet, it always comes up in conversation, and I like asking, what do you feed your pets? not because I'm looking to sell anything from our site necessarily, but just, out of curiosity. And, people will tell me, and the number one thing is that, when I'm telling somebody, hey, there's this other food, with better ingredients or things of that nature, a lot of times I get the response, and it's, well, my dog likes this. Well, and it makes sense because a lot, and I'm not saying this for all foods that you see on your grocery store shelves, but a lot of those foods have ingredients or artificial flavorings or a lot of corn or products in it that are designed to get your dog to want to eat it. Partially, in fact, because your dog's natural instincts would be not to eat that food, and so they flavor it with things to encourage them to eat it. But yeah, exactly like you said, just like a kid, if you gave them the choice between pizza every day of the week or grilled chicken and vegetables, they're going to choose pizza every single day, hands down. But it's up to us to kind of steer them in the right direction.
And that's the thing that gets me. Really, if you look and you say, hey, tell your kid go get whatever they want. I mean, literally, they will eat out of, especially a 3-year-old. They will eat out of the dog bowl. And I think to myself, oh my gosh. I mean, I saw one of the big players in the dog food industry was adding sugar, and I'm just thinking to myself, wow, what are we doing? And we're willingly going into the store buying this product. I love social media, and I hate it at the same time because they love to post. They pay the advertisement to show their new products and kind of boast, hey, this is what's out there. You should buy it. And there's a new one out, and I kid you not, it looks like a chocolate bar. Little squares you break off. Brown like chocolate, breakable like chocolate, and they're just so excited about it. And I'm looking at it going, this is ridiculous. I mean, obviously, we all know chocolate's not going to be good for your dog, so let's make a product that looks just like it. I mean, I throw my hand in it. Of course, I'm going to, make comments, and I try to goat them into coming on here. Of course, they're not going to, but it's like, really, what are you guys thinking? It's so inappropriate, and yet that's one thing that I find extremely hysterical with the pet food industry, especially the big players, is their product is so inappropriate. And in a day and age that we're so cautious about things that are inappropriate, we're not really calling them out on it. And that right there gets my attention, like, really?
Yeah, I think one of the things that amazes me the most for a lot of the foods that I would consider maybe not as great for your pets is obviously the companies that are making these foods are a lot of them are big corporations. They have brilliant people on their marketing staffs, and honestly, the way they market the product is brilliant. Like you said, the look of the product, the bags, the advertising that they do. But one of the things that kind of blows my mind the most is when I look at a bag of food, and of course on the label it says made with meats and vegetables and all that, and they've got pictures of fresh cuts of meat and nice ripe vegetables sitting there. And then you look at the kibble, and the kibble is colored. Some are green, some are orange. And what I found, I've actually interviewed people on this. People that buy that food, and when they see the kibble and they see the little green pieces and the little orange pieces, in their mind, they automatically assume that, oh, that's the vegetables. And there's a bunch of them in there because there's a bunch of green pieces. So it must be healthy for my pet. And in reality, all that is artificial coloring. It's all the same. Most kibble, all the ingredients are mixed into all the kibble, maybe with different flavors and different pieces and such, but it's just not the way it works. But it's being marketed as a healthy product with nice fresh ingredients. But honestly, if you did a little looking into what ingredients are actually included in a lot of major pet food brands, it would be really scary. To the point that you might question what you're feeding.
I agree, and they use specific colors that are they've been tested that they're pleasing to the consumer's eyes. And that's just remarkable. I mean, do you think of the millions of dollars they do on research a year, and you think to yourself, "Oh my gosh, no wonder they're where they're at." They put a lot of money out, but the garbage that's in those bags is just astonishing.
Yeah. Whereas, there's like the products we carry on our site, for instance. I mean, we carry currently right now, we're at 125 different brands of dog and cat food and treats and toys, etc. We're currently working on adding another 50 to 100 more new brands full of products to our site. And so there is other alternatives out there, great brands that actually do put a lot of research by pet nutritionists and veterinarians into their food. And what stands out amongst that type of product that we carry versus the products that we're talking about earlier is it's a real simple test. I mean, you take two products and you look at their ingredients label, and if one of them's 5 pages long and the other one's a few ingredients, then obviously the one with the least number of ingredients is probably going to be best for your pet. And that's one of our whole goals with our website, with all the content that we produce, whether it's on our blog or on our social media accounts, is all of it really about education. So in fact, I just finished up a 6-part blog series on our website where every part we discussed, different aspects of your food that you should look for your pet, and then different aspects to avoid, even getting down to certain ingredients to avoid. And so I guess my whole point behind that is just let people know that there is other alternatives out there, and there's a lot of alternatives that range, from really cost effective to truly premium foods. So you're not just stuck with what you have in your local grocery store.
Which leads me on to some more questions with it, because you've hit the nail on the head on the entire catalog of quality dog food, and that's what really drew me into wanting to have you in on the podcast, because you see it on a daily, weekly, and you've been doing it for 10 years. So let's actually go into some questions here about the challenges and how you actually decide what goes on your website, and so on and so on. So let's start with, what are some challenges of having a pet food product and accessories as well website? What are those challenges?
Well, it's actually, there's a lot of unique challenges. I guess with any business, you've always got your challenges of, getting your brand and your products out there and encouraging customers to buy. And that's pretty typical. With the pet food store, the real challenges are, one, getting your product to your customer after they place an order quickly. And so one of the ways, for example, that we overcome that challenge is we actually have 5 different warehouses spread out from Rhode Island to Washington State across the country. We're headquartered here in Omaha, Nebraska, but we have different warehouse locations all across the country. And so that allowed us to overcome that challenge, because we ship everything and it gets there within 1 to 2 business days. And that helps our customers, because, you may have the customer that forgot to order their food on time and they need it tomorrow, and we have a greater chance of getting it to them as they need it. One of the other challenges is, from a purely a business side, is how do you get that food to them without it costing an arm and a leg? I don't know if anybody's tried going and shipping a 40-pound package through FedEx lately, but it's the typical cost for that is really high, hundreds of dollars, possibly if you're shipping it across the country. So that's a unique aspect of our business that we've been able to overcome. And then the main challenge, it really is, well, there's 2 main challenges, I should say. One is, as I was saying earlier, is educating people. I would say that the vast majority, maybe not the vast majority, but a majority of pet owners do purchase what they see in the store because it's convenient for them, and they don't understand the quality issue amongst some major brands, and then the truly healthy pet foods. And so that challenge is educating people, and that's what we do through our blog and our social media accounts. Is letting people know why you should choose grain-free foods, or why you should look at organic foods, or foods that don't contain preservatives and things of that nature. And so we do a lot of content around that, and hopefully we're slowly sharing the word, I guess, on that. And then the second challenge, a major challenge for us is determining what products we want to carry on our site. So we get, as a company that's pretty well known, we get pitched products on a daily basis. In fact, I actually just got a box of samples from a new company that wanted me to try it out and take a look at it and to see if we can put it on our website for them. And with that, we get products of all types and of all qualities. And so what we've had to do to overcome that is we actually created this 29-point checklist that we go through specifically for foods to look at and say, okay, does it pass this checklist? And if it does, then we do additional further research on it to see if we want to list it on our website. But, if it doesn't pass it, then it doesn't meet the criteria, and we don't even put it out. So that's, we know by doing that we limit the number of products that we offer, and we may turn down brands that are really popular and that have a lot of following. But for us, it's all about quality. We want to be known as the place to go to get healthy and high quality pet products.
And you know what? That's the main ingredient right there. And it's kind of cool to know that you actually don't just have one hub that's, right there in one spot. You've actually been able to market it where you have it West Coast, East Coast, and right there in Central, so you're able to get it to everywhere you need to go. And that's a real key. I couldn't tell you how many times people have only been in one little location, and then you really do run such a risk. So that is really smart.
Yeah, we like to tell everybody we're a national company with nice, wholesome Midwestern values. I mean, we honestly do. We tell all of our customers that they're family, and being a large company, a lot of people get the impression that we're just this big organization that is out to make a ton of money, but ultimately everything we do is balanced by how can we best serve our customers, and so spreading out our warehouse locations to make it easier for them to get the products they need is definitely a huge part of that.
Which is great. Now, you mentioned your love for quality in dog food and in cat food and in product itself. What is there about the quality pet foods that inspire you to try and convince pet parents to research and to buy the quality pet products over the quantity?
Yeah, so actually that's a really awesome question. I'm glad you asked that, because I actually just got an email from a customer of ours, who, and in short, basically her email said that she had a 9-year-old yellow lab, pure breed dog that for the first 6 years of her pet's life, she was buying the food from her local stores. I won't say the brand, but 6 years feeding her pet the same food. When her pet turned, I believe it was 7 years old, got diagnosed with cancer, and had severe stomach issues and skin issues. And one of her friends happened to have been another customer of ours and told her about a brand of food that we carry and convinced her to switch over. Well, this customer with the yellow lab, she emailed me actually, and unfortunately her pet passed away from the issues that she had when she was 7 on up. But she emailed us specifically to thank us for doing what we do to reach out and provide healthy products. And in her email, she said, even though it didn't fix what was wrong, over the last 3 years, her pet had a much better quality of life. And unfortunately, I wish I could say that was an isolated incident, but I do get a lot of emails like that, whether it's for the supplements we carry or foods or things of that nature, where people didn't know until it's too late. And then as a pet owner myself, I kind of see that as my challenge to make sure more and more people know about it. So, in hopes to prevent that that scenario from happening again. I know it's an uphill battle, but it's a battle that I am willing to take on.
And a battle that is actually worth taking on. I mean, you see where I'm at with it. I mean, I put this together just for the same reason, just hoping to get information out there. And it's an uphill battle because, you know, again, going back to the big products that are out there, those big companies, they have brainwashed the consumer into thinking that what they're selling is the right thing. And it seems like we're trying to, you know, slowly chip away at that as they throw millions of dollars in their marketing. It is a hard thing to actually battle, but I do think that it's worth the fight. And if, you know, you made a difference in just one email you got, that shows that you're making that difference, and that's what matters the most.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely believe it. And, you know, going back to what I said earlier, it's no different than us. We all know that if we eat healthy, we live better lives. And, you know, for me and my pets that I have at home, you know, they're as much a part of family as my kids are. And so I want to make sure that their quality of life is just as good as my kids.
I agree. I mean, we do the same thing even with fosters. With our foster dog or cats that we bring in, they get a really well-balanced diet. And sometimes, you know, in some of the cases, they've been eating their own feces. So now they're actually eating quality food. And you're kind of thinking, oh gosh, you know, I'm at least giving this dog or this cat some kind of quality life so that once we find another home or a good rescue for them, you know, they're getting a good start. You know, it doesn't matter what, we can erase some of the bad, but then you just hope that wherever they go, they don't end up on the bad product, and then it's almost kind of reverting back to where they came from. So one thing that has always, you know, and you touched on it a little bit, but something that's always really interested me, and I was telling you this before we started, being able to go to the large pet companies that distribute different things. Like I was telling you, I went to WPVC, which is West Plains, right here in Missouri. When you're deciding new products to add to the actual website, what are some, and I know you had mentioned, I think you said 29 steps. What are the things that you look at before agreeing to carry the product?
So from a quality issue, one of the things that we look at is the food, number one, either is made in the United States or Canada. And I say Canada because actually Canadian foods, pet foods, and ingredients they put in them actually have stricter quality control guidelines than our own FDA and USDA enforce on our own foods. So for example, in Canada, every ingredient that goes in there, they have to specifically tell them not only where they got it, but it has to be the actual ingredient that they list on the bag. So if they say, you know, freshwater trout, for instance, if it's a Canadian food, they have to say it's freshwater trout from this lake in Ontario. And it can only ever be that, or otherwise they can't include it in their food. So from that standpoint, you know, whether it's U.S. or Canadian made, knowing where the ingredients come from in your pet food is crucial. And then knowing what type of ingredients it is. So, for example, in a lot of foods, if you look at the back of the bag, it'll say something along the lines of, you know, chicken meal or poultry meal. And what a lot of people don't understand, I guess, or don't know, is that poultry meal or chicken meal could be anything, really. It's basically any part of the chicken sourced from anywhere and wherever they want to get it, whether it's chickens from China, wherever. That, you know, it's basically the leftovers that have been kind of ground up and put into this classification called meal. And then, so we look to make sure that, one, we know where the ingredients came from, that it's made in either a U.S. or Canadian manufacturing plant. And then we also look to make sure it doesn't contain things like that are labeled as byproducts. The word byproduct, if anybody that's listening and their ingredients on their pet food include something with the label byproduct next to it, I would be extremely cautious about that food. Byproduct, again, is the waste product of a meat processing plant. And so we make sure it doesn't include that. One of the other things we look for is grain-free foods. There's been a ton of research out there. We've done our own research and working with pet nutritionists that has shown that, grain-free foods are the way to go for your pet. From the standpoint that specifically dogs, but cats as well, if you go back to their great-great-grandpas, their ancestry as an animal, they never ate corn. They didn't eat soy. That was not a part of their diet, and so it's not natural for them to eat it. And in fact, I get asked the whole time by pet owners to say, my dog, he's scratching a lot, he's itching a lot, he gets sores on his paws because he continuously licks them. My first question to them is, well, is your food grain-free or does it have corn in it? And they go look and they tell me, oh yeah, it's got corn. It's the number 3 ingredient in the food. Well, what happens there is corn, dry corn, feed corn that they use in pet food, sits in big meals. Here in Omaha, we have tons of them all over the place because we're the corn capital. And that, as that grain is sitting there, it gets just naturally fleas and other little dust mites and things like that get into the corn. Well, in human grade corn product, that all gets filtered out and washed off. But in a lot of times with animal feed or pet food, those companies are buying the corn that's kind of been sitting at the bottom of the mill for a long time. It's the cheapest ingredient they can get because, of course, they've got to make money on the product. Well, like humans, dust mites cause allergies in humans. Well, dust mites also cause allergies in dogs and cats too, but it shows up differently. It shows up in their skin. And so a dog that's been scratching and itching a whole lot, maybe it's got big red sores on their paws or whatnot, if you're feeding them products with corn in it, that could be a cause of that. And so that's one of the things we look for in the foods that we carry to make sure that they are grain-free. Now, I will caveat that with we do carry a very select number, and by select I'm saying maybe 12 different specific formulas of food that do include corn in them, but they're designed specifically for working dogs, so your canine units, your military dogs, your sled dogs, and it's all purely because their body needs those extra calories, those extra carbohydrates. But again, the corn is sourced from a reliable source. And then we look to make sure that, the foods don't contain artificial coloring, artificial flavoring, salt. We try to avoid foods that have salt as a major ingredient on it. And so basically, we just kind of run down the list of ingredients in all the food and make sure that we could say with some level of certainty that the food is, going to be healthy for the pet. After we get through looking at the actual ingredients and kind of determine whether or not the food is even qualified to be put on the site, then we do some market research and we figure out, is there a demand for the food? Is it a well-known brand? Is it a brand that, you can find anywhere in your local stores? Or is it a brand that's kind of a pet specialty item? And that's kind of what we typically look for in most cases, are brands that you don't find anywhere else. And then we try it out. We'll send out samples to select customers or pet owners that we know, and have them give it a try and get their feedback. And once it's basically passed through all that, if it's a food that's kind of made its way and shown that it's a good food, then we'll add it to the site.
That is a great deal of attention to detail, which, you think to yourself, how many places really take that kind of attention to detail? And that's one thing that has always drawn me, since we started talking. That's what drew me. I mean, you remember the first thing I said is, one thing that I'm very partial to, too, is I have to have, this grain-free is something that's very important. And again, this is, what we talked about way before, this podcast started. And that was, you were just adamant about, no, this is what I do. And I was taken back on, oh wow, this is actually something I'm passionate about, you were passionate about, and you didn't even go into this type of detail on how much you really make sure that the products that are on your website are quality. And I commend you for that. That is a lot. That is a lot. And, again, you don't see it too often. So that's something that really does mean a lot to me.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. I mean, it's like I said, we see tons of products on almost a daily basis, and it can be overwhelming. And you get pitched a product that a lot of people want, has a huge following, and if you put it up on the website, you could sell it and you can make some money off of it. But ultimately, for us, we just are. We're a business for sure. We're transparent about that, but if it doesn't meet with our standards, then that goes back to we want to be known as the reliable place to go to get healthy pet products. So it does take a lot of work, but it's what we're about.
I completely appreciate it. Now, again, one thing that really was fun when I was researching everything on your website was that you're not just, we don't just have dog food. We actually have cat food. But we don't just do that. We also go with pet toys. And that, again, I've got a little experience seeing, different products out there that they, want carried in, small general stores or websites. And it draws that question, same as the dog question, dog food and cat food. And that is, how do you actually choose what meets your standards and what you think your customers are going to like?
Yeah, and pet toys are interesting too. From a purely pet industry standpoint, there seems like there's a new pet toy company every week that pops up, that has some sort of squeaker toy or some sort of chew toy or treat toy, and so you could very easily get lost in adding, all these new products to the site. And so from our standpoint, what we look for from a pet toy is we try to limit to toys that are made only in the U.S. Being completely honest, though, we do carry a line of the Kong brand of toys. Some of those are made in China, but it's a reputable brand that's been around for a really long time, so we consider that to be okay. But a lot of the times, so for toys specifically, what we look for is, again, made in the U.S., something that's going to be durable. We don't want to just sell a squeaker toy that your dog's going to get, and 5 minutes later it's in shreds and there's a little flush of cotton all over your couch. Because dogs do that, and we understand that. It's going to happen inevitably depending on the dog. So we look for brands like Hyperped or things like that are known for producing, really, really good quality product that's going to last a while. And then we actually do market research with the toy. So somebody would like us to look at a toy and bring it on the site. We'll get a few of them, take them out. We'll give them to pet owners either near us, or we'll ship them out to people that we know. We like working with a lot of bloggers and sending them product and getting their unbiased review on it, just to see, is it something that's worth it? And that's actually a really big thing that we do is work with, people like yourself, actually, and other influencers within the pet realm. And we'll happily send things out to them and say, hey, give this a shot. All I want is your unbiased feedback on it, because we're considering selling it. And so for toys, it's a lot of fun because we can take them out and can play with the pets and, see how they interact with it. For example, we have this line of cat toys. They're basically catnip stuffed toys on our site. And I was kind of curious about it when we were really bringing them on. And I will say I have the world's laziest and pickiest cat out there. He's 19 pounds and he doesn't play with anything. And so I brought some home and laid one out there. And for the next 45 minutes, he went bizarre, going crazy over that toy. So I was like, wow, obviously this is something pets love. So yeah, it's a lot of experimenting, a lot of getting feedback and seeing, what works.
which is fun. That is a fun thing, and the fortunate side is that you can take it home and you can, hey, you know what? If my finicky cat will play with it, that's a big thing. Yeah, it's cats can be a very tricky subject, and like I'll on the podcast we'll do a cat episode, and it could be a big thing, and it also can be a dud. You can never really put your finger on cats. That is the interesting, and cat parents. It's the same
Right.
thing. I've not been able to hone in on the psyche of it, but maybe
I think it's cats rule the world, and I think that's their mentality. So
I think you might be right.
yeah.
Now you have a really cool episode. Oh, sorry, go ahead on that last part.
Oh no, I was just saying that's at least that's how my cat believes. If it's nothing he's interested in, then he doesn't have anything to do with it.
I agree. I mean, I completely agree. And I mean, I have all types of different cats, and one thing I can say about all of them is that they're all different and yet all the same at the same time. I mean, it's bizarre. I mean, you can pull cat toys and they'll love it, and then get something else and they'll hate it. I don't get it. And it could be the same thing across the board. And I have a calico, and you hear all the stories about calicos, and yeah, they're true, and yet they're not true in other ways because they'll opinionated, yes, picky, oh yes, but I've also been told that a calico will have nothing to do with people, and I'm like, well, that's not the case in my situation, but it's strange. So yeah. I've kind of just said with cats, you're pretty much it's by cat experience only.
Yeah, exactly.
Now then, the one thing that I was having fun going through, and that was your accessories. I mean, you have a really cool accessories section on your website. So that brought up kind of a two-part question, and that was. And usually I won't ask this question, but it was just so many different things I was going over. So I was like, I'm going to ask the question, even though it's not a typical one. And the first one was, what's your biggest seller? And the second part is, again, kind of back to the, same question I had about dog food, cat food, and everything else. What actually is your limitations, your qualifications that you have on every bit of accessory to add to your website?
No, it's a great question. Actually, to answer your first part, the bestseller, I mean, right off the top of my head, we carry a line. It's called Doggone Smart, and they sell, doormats and pet beds and chamois for drying your pet off. It's just a whole collection of things for your pet, and it's for your home. And they actually have this. It's called the Ninja Pet Bed, and it's just this pet bed that you can either put in a crate or you can lay on the floor by itself. And by hands down, from an accessory standpoint, that is got to be our number one bestseller. And I think that kind of leads into the second part of your question as to why. You can go to your Walmarts or your Targets or any pet store, and there's going to be somewhere probably towards the back of the store a whole wall full of these pet beds. And even myself, looking at it, I had to question, okay, so what makes those different than Doggone Smart? I actually called Doggone Smart and interviewed them and asked them. I was like, why is it that your pet bed's a little bit more expensive, but it's obviously something that people want and crave after. And what it comes down to is, again, it's just quality. Their products don't tear, they don't rip, they can be washed. They're designed to last. I guess it comes to you get what you pay for.
Right.
If you buy a pet bed that's $10 versus a pet bed that's maybe $40. You would hope, ideally, that the $40 one is going to be a better buy for you. It's going to last longer. So I think that is by far our best seller. And again, as far as why it comes down to, it's just a quality product that, even though there are knockoffs or imitations of, getting the real thing can't be beat. As far as the other things that we carry, so our accessories category is kind of a mix of, pet beds, pet care products, so like shampoos and conditioners and grooming wipes, and then supplements too. So from the like pet care side of things, we look for shampoos and conditioners and wipes and all that are, either fragrance free or are animal safe, completely tested. They don't contain, a lot of our products in that category are all natural. For example, one of our best-selling flea and tick products is called Wondercide, and a lot of people might recognize that name. They were actually featured on Shark Tank, the TV show, and they got picked up and invested into a shark, and we're lucky enough to carry some of their products on our website. And it's just an all-natural. Basically, it's made of some natural oils from plants and water, and it's just a spray, and it works wonders at keeping away ticks and fleas from your yard and from your pets. So rather than having to buy a chemical that you put on your dog's back, you can use this all-natural ingredient, and there's no side effects. It's safe. You could literally eat it if you wanted to. I wouldn't, but you could. And so we look for products like that, and the reason we look for products that are kind of in the all-natural and the safe category is what we understand is a lot of pet owners have kids too. And if their kids are anything like my kids, they're going to get into everything. And so, you want to make sure that there's nothing dangerous that they can get into as well. So, getting into some of the Wondercide, for example, is not going to harm them. They may smell a little funny, but it's not going to harm them. And so we just look for products that are going to be good for households, regardless, I guess, whether or not they have kids, but just good in general.
It's great how responsible you are with what products you carry. It's not just about making that dollar. It's about making sure that you're selling the right products that aren't going to harm the pet. That's one of the real takeaways that I had from just going through the accessories. And it does now, I know I didn't mention this, but I'm going to, throw a curveball at you. And right when you said it, when you mentioned Shark Tank, I'm going to ask the question that I ask a lot of people in your position, and that is, have you considered going on Shark Tank?
In the back of my mind, it's one of those things that I actually had the opportunity to meet Mark Cuban in person a few years ago. He's a great guy. I'm actually originally a Dallas, Texas native myself. Go Cowboys! And but from our business standpoint, it would be great to meet him, but ultimately we take the approach of we want to build the business up from the ground up, basically bootstrapping it. So we're not looking to take on a whole lot of venture capital or have investors. Instead, actually, in our whole approach, and one of the reasons why I'm happy to work with you is we prefer to grow it in a more grassroots approach. So in that, it means working with people like yourselves, with bloggers. We do a lot of work. We just kicked off this whole program where we work with rescue organizations to where they get a percentage of all the sales back through a program that we offer, and that's the way we prefer to build our company and build our brand, to make it, so that it is more of a natural approach. We know that we could fairly easily go out and get a lot of money raised in capital, and then we could start producing TV commercials and be everywhere in your face online. But it's, for us, that's just not an approach that we want to take.
Now, I'm going to say this because this happened already, so I'm going to say it. If you did or you plan on it, you must be back on the podcast, because I'll give you an example. Apollo Peak Wines is a cat wine, and they were just on Shark Tank. I want to say 2 weeks ago, week or two ago. I can't remember by now, but the reason why I said it is we had them on the podcast We had the one person on the podcast, and I asked him this question. He couldn't tell me that he did Shark Tank, but one thing that's funny about this podcast is I don't one and done it with everybody. I always try to stay in contact with all of our guests. And the moment that I heard about it, I sent him a message, and he said, "Yes, I know. I was waiting for this." He had recorded. I don't know if he actually had filmed the episode or was about to at the time. So that's why I come to the point. If you do or you did, just I'm gonna be sending you a message saying, "Okay, you got to come back on the podcast."
I'd be happy to come back anytime, but for sure, if that happens, it's a guarantee.
Well, I want to go into the digital side because obviously, we're doing a digital podcast, and of course, I'm going to be drawn to it. So, and you've talked about it a few times, and I thought, I'm going to save it for right around now. Tell us about your blog.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so we in April of last year, we actually relaunched our whole new website. So we spent several months completely rebuilding it, brand new look, brand new feel, making sure that it was, mobile friendly and it was just a great experience for everybody that was visiting it. When we did that, I'd always wanted to add a blog to the website, and the whole purpose behind the blog is not to push our products at all, actually, which in fact, I've had other business owners ask me, well, why don't you, promote your specific products within your blogs? And, ultimately, the whole purpose behind our blog is about that educational outreach. And so the articles that you'll see on our blog are all geared towards pet health or pet safety and pet nutrition. And so instead of writing, hey, here's, from Dog Food, it's the oldest dog food company in, North America, and here's the products, instead we talk about kind of what I talked about earlier, is grain-free good or bad for my dog? Should my pet eat soy foods? What type of ingredients should I look for? What should I avoid? And then we have other topics about, how do you take care of your pet during the summer? What things you should do for your pet in the wintertime and things like that. So it all comes down to, we wanted to provide some valuable content for our readers, whether they're customers or not, to help educate them on, pet ownership, pet parenting. And then in addition to that, and this is something I'm really excited about, and I mentioned a little bit earlier, we're working with a lot of rescue groups with our new program for them. We've kicked off this whole initiative. So we partner with rescue groups all across the country. So if anybody's listening as part of a rescue group, definitely get in touch with me. So in addition to them being able to earn a percentage of our sales, we actually, for every rescue group that we work with, we'll interview them, and we'll write up a really nice blog article about them, and we'll describe who they are, what they do, the services that they offer, because a surprising number of people don't know, even with organizations like Humane Society, they don't really understand all the variety of services that they offer there and what they can do to help, or what they can get from that organization. And so what we like to do is feature them on our blog and describe that. And then in that blog post, we list out, okay, this organization has some needs, and here's what their needs are and how you can help out. And so what we found is, because we do have a pretty good size following on social media and a lot of people that read our blog, we were able to get these organizations more exposure. Now, a lot of our customers, again, are nationwide, and so some of the people, if I'm talking about an organization here in Omaha, people in California may read it, but what it may encourage them to do is look for organizations around them that they can help out with, because now they know that there are organizations out there that are doing great work but need some help, because all nonprofit organizations at some point definitely need some sort of assistance. So yeah, it comes down to basically education and awareness and just other interesting topics within the pet sphere.
That is cool. I mean, that really is cool because I understand. I completely get it. These rescue groups, they're out there and they're really doing everything they can, low funding and not a lot of exposure. And I get that. I really, really get that. And I appreciate what you're doing with that. That is amazing.
I appreciate it. And I mean, even a lot of people too. So we work with the Nebraska Humane Society quite a bit, and we do a lot of different things with them. And so the Nebraska Humane Society is actually the 5th largest humane society in the country. It's huge. And, working with them directly, and, one of the things they say all the time is people look at them and they see the building and the adoption shelters and the pet pantry, and they look and they assume that the organization must be doing really well and all that. But what they don't understand is, they're big and like that because they provide a ton of services for the local area. And all of that takes volunteers and all of that takes money. And so, being able to help them out in any way possible, whether they're big like the Humane Society or whether they're small. Actually, there was a Boston Terrier rescue group that I just got done talking with a lady from last night that that we're going to try to help out and feature on our site as well. So, rescue groups come in all sizes, and they all need something. So we're here to help.
And I get that. I get that completely. So I'm sure a lot of people do that. And see, I look at it and I go, okay, here you could be on there. You could just be blogging about this new product is going to be available, or this is something we're having a special this week. Instead, you've taken that media and you've actually redirected it in a better way, and it's not seen. So, and I wasn't aware of that. So you kind of threw me off I'm like, oh, wow, okay, I didn't know that. That's why I asked the questions, and sometimes I do get caught, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly there's a time and place for advertising and promoting your business. Again, like I said earlier, we are a business and we're a for-profit business, so obviously that's an objective. But the approach we'd like to take is more of and there's a gentleman out there that's a great entrepreneur. His name's Gary Vaynerchuk, and he calls it the thank you economy. And we really prescribe by that, and it is doing something for others without any intention of getting something in return. And when you do that and you help out others, then ultimately it will work out for you down the road. It may not be directly, that person may not come back, and somebody that reads my blog post may not ever come back and place an order on our site, but I've helped them, and down the road, in some way or another, it may or may not help us out. But that's the approach we take. We'd rather help everybody out as much as possible, and in the hopes that does at some point come back and be a benefit for us.
Which leads me into one of my last questions, and it's really how we started talking, and that was let's discuss the affiliate program. I thought that was I have not actually heard of anything like this before. And I was like, wow, that's one way of actually, getting out there. And I thought that was a real smart way of doing it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I'd love to talk about it. So the affiliate program is pretty simple, really. Anybody can join. We partner with anybody from bloggers, people who do podcasts like yourself, a lot, like I mentioned earlier, the nonprofits and shelters, they can join as well. But honestly, if you're somebody that just has a Facebook page or an Instagram page that's got a following and you like pets and you want to join, you could join too. And so basically the way it works is you join the program and we provide you a link to our site and some banners and some other material to help you out with some guides and instructions. and then basically you share that link out. And if somebody clicks on that link and places an order, then we pay you a percentage of that order. So it's a way to it accomplishes two things. One, it helps us get our brand and who we are out there to more people in a more direct approach. And two, it allows our people that join the affiliate program to make some money on the side. And so, again, they place, somebody clicks your link, they place an order, we pay you a percentage of that order. But one of the neat things about our program, unlike some others that are out there, is if that person ever comes back and orders again from us, you still get a percentage of that order, whether or not they clicked on your link again or not. And so, it allows you as an affiliate, or anybody that joins as an affiliate, they get enough people to purchase their pet food from us, which happens on a regular basis because we all run out of pet food. It allows them to develop a way to earn a little bit extra income on the side.
I think it's a win-win and win kind of situation, which I thought that was cool. I mean, again, here's what it all came down to. I saw your post, and it said if you're a blogger, and I was like, oh well, a podcaster, and I was kind of more curious about your product and what you were doing. And I clicked around and I asked you a couple questions, and that's how this whole conversation started. And I thought that was a real cool way of getting your stuff out there, which I haven't seen that actually, which is, maybe just be I'm under a rock apparently. But I thought that was a real cool process. And then it's like, then you kind of, as I went further into your whole product line and everything that you're doing, I was like, wow, this is a lot deeper than I thought it was. So you will actually see that link on this episode, and I will be continuously adding that into every week's episode from here on out, so that people, have an opportunity to be able to get quality pet food from a really good place. And that's really what matters the most to me.
I appreciate it for sure. And I encourage anybody else that's listening that wants to take a look at it. You can either click on the link there or go to caninecuisine.com/affiliates. We're happy. It all comes down to our whole approach is grassroots. Even if you don't have a huge following of people or a lot of people, even if it's just you have your personal Facebook page, but you buy dog food and your family buys dog food. It's a great way for anybody that joins to earn a little bit extra on it. Maybe it's your vacation money or your rainy day money or however. But then at the same time, that the products you're encouraging them to look at are all going to be high quality and healthy, and that again helps us spread our word about the importance of choosing high quality pet food,
which is always the best thing that we can encourage. Well, my last question, and I hate to say it, but my last question is tell everyone where they can go to see your products, and if you want to drop an email address in there if they have any questions for you.
Yeah, absolutely, and we will answer every single question. So if you want to visit our site, you can go to caninecuisine.com, and that's the letter K, the number 9, and then cuisine.com. Browse the site. We have a good selection of both dog and cat food, treats, toys. If you want to send me an email, I'd be happy to answer. It's just info@caninecuisine.com. Just shoot me over a message, whether it's pet health or a nutrition topic, you want to know about a specific product, you want to know my thoughts on the next cowboy season, let me know. I'll be happy. I'll answer anything.
I have a question on Cowboys.
Sure.
How do you feel about Romo retiring?
I honestly think that it was a good move for him. And I say that, and I actually I grew up in Dallas in the 90s. I've been a Cowboys fan when they were, Super Bowl champs many years in a row, all the way through when they were not doing very well, and it was not popular to be a Cowboys fan. But Romo, I actually think, is a great quarterback, and I think he did a great job. I think, given how many injuries he's taken over the last couple seasons, yeah, I think moving on to being a broadcaster is going to be better for him. And at the same time, he's still getting to do something he loves. And I think Dak Prescott's going to be amazing for the upcoming season.
Well, I hope that works out. I know a lot of my friends are Cowboys fans. So I'm, hoping for all of you that they do well. And for all of you who aren't Cowboys fans, I don't really watch a lot of football. My favorite game of the year is the Super Bowl, but that's just me. But thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. I'd be happy to do it anytime.
And I will hold you to if you ever go on Shark Tank, I will hold you to that whole thing. I got it on record now.
Awesome. Yeah, so there's one last thing I wanted to mention. For any of you that are listening that are wondering about your pet food and wondering if it's good for your pet. So we've actually, we developed a tool. We worked with pet nutritionists, and basically it's a tool that allows you to kind of rate your pet food. And it rates it from an A to an F, and A being good, S being bad, obviously. And basically the way it works is it asks you 12 simple questions, not about the brand or anything like that, but all the questions are about the ingredients in your pet food. So all you have to do is grab your bag of pet food and then go to caninecuisine.com/tool, and then it'll ask you 12 questions. You answer those 12 questions and it'll rate your food for you.
Cool.
So that way it kind of gives you an idea of, how good is the food that you're currently feeding your pet. And again, if you have any questions on that, feel free to shoot me an email at info@caninecuisine.com. Be happy to help you through that or help answer it. It's a free tool. You don't even have to enter your email. I encourage everybody to check it out and get an understanding of the food that they're currently feeding their pets.
Oh, cool! That's awesome. I didn't know about that. So, cool. All right, I'm going to do it. I know for a fact I will. I'm going to hopefully come back with an A, but. Because we're very particular, so that's a great tool to have, and really that was cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you for doing this.
No problem.
Thank you again, Joshua Barnes, for being on the podcast. It was an absolute pleasure having him on, and listening to his quality control was really what I took away. One thing that I've always wanted to do, and I've told Sarah this, I've always wanted to actually talk to somebody with a website that has all these different pet products on there and really understand what it takes and what their aspects are, what their regulations are, and he exceeded that.
What was great that I find to be absolutely just wonderful is that he did all the work for us. For everybody that needs to find a quality dog food that doesn't have the time to sit there and read pages upon pages upon pages of reviews and ingredients and searching for what those ingredients were and what they, because you see words that are like 15 letters long and you're like, I don't even know how to pronounce it, let alone what it is. He's able to dissect that for you and then be able to follow up with his blogs. And going through his blog makes it much easier to deal with than reading what the food creators themselves put together.
Right, the big players, how they spin them.
They spin it. They use different words. They use words that most people don't understand, or they just alter the truth.
Right. Well, that's been the big thing is the fact that they're spending millions of dollars to manipulate the consumer is just overwhelming as it is. Mm-hmm. And look at that, dyes and the fact that everything that's in the product, it's just, and I'm not talking about his products, I'm talking about the big players, it's garbage. But when you look at how the dyes are pleasing to the eyes and the consumer goes, ooh.
Yeah, right? I was like, oh my gosh. And people have done studies for human food too.
Right.
Like the colors red and yellow tend to make somebody hungry. I kid you not, there's a study that red and yellow.
Do you want to know what makes me hungry? Studies proved not eating. That usually makes me hungry.
And so you look at most of the fast food colors. What colors are they?
Right.
Some sort of red and yellow or brown and with some kind of green. Mm-hmm. And it stimulates the mind to think, oh, food. So when somebody opens up a bag and you see the colors, like you said, oh, there's green, that must be where the vegetables are.
Right.
because everybody associates the color green with vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
It makes complete sense why the pet food people would do that.
Yeah.
The big box places would do that. But boy, is it misleading.
Oh, it's completely.
What people don't typically understand is that the more brown that the food is, the healthier it typically is for your dog. That's what I've noticed. If you open up a bag of your low-grade dog food and you see them in different colors or they're just a pale brown, you go into looking into your grain freeze and your more enriched food, it's like a super dark brown.
Right.
So I do believe color matters. And then you're adding dyes to the food, and dyes can react to a dog's system something fierce. Just like how red dye can screw with a kid's head or a person's mind and make them super hyperactive. And you have to be careful on the dyes that you feed your children. The same thing with dogs. So let's get rid of that. And I love how he pointed that out.
And I didn't know about the tools that are on his website where you can actually check. I haven't been able to do that yet.
Compare them.
I've been dying to do that. I have not had a chance to do that yet.
And it's more than just food.
Right.
I was looking through the website and saw the fish oil. Mm-hmm. Fish oils is expensive because it is extremely hard to get any kind of oil from an animal that there's no fat. So, yes, they're going to be expensive, but they're fairly well priced.
I would actually say they're under what you would spend to get the actual caplets.
Yes, and you have to screw the punch in a hole in it and try not to squirt it on you. Make sure you get into the food. This is all made easy and simple, and you can read reviews on what people say about them. And it's just, you go to your phone, you pick it up, you order, you call it good.
And that's the other thing I took away from everything is, we were all prisoners. I mean, I think back to, my mom or grandmother or anybody that's, beyond our generation. They didn't have the resources we have. When he had said that he started this in 2007 and he then followed up with, it's been 10 years. I'm like, no, it hasn't. It's been a couple of years. You got whoa, you're right.
Claire's going to be 9 this year.
I know. That's what my math went.
And then 10 next.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
And I put that all together and I'm thinking to myself, I remember in 2008, I got my very first smartphone. And before that, it was just texting I can think of on our phones. I can't remember there being anything but. And, now I think, oh my gosh, our personal computers are the same thing that, we talk on, which is our phone. And, even just 10 years ago, we were prisoners to a grocery store, a big box store. And now...
And if you're in a small town, you're subject to even less.
Right. And that's exactly what I was getting to was... it doesn't matter if you live in the big city or in the country. It's all done for you by the simple fact that you just go on the website and it's there.
The world just got smaller.
So much smaller and so much easier.
It's like they have a brand that's Alaska Naturals. It's a salmon oil, and this one's particularly formulated for cats. $10 for a 4-ounce bottle.
That's not bad at all.
That's not bad. And then their flat rate shipping is $7.99 unless you order over $59. Well, a good bag of dog food is going to cost you more than that.
Right.
So it's like, boom, free shipping.
Right. And I was going to say that you really
Sorry.
are. No, you're doing great. You're jumping right to where I was going to go, and that's funny.
I had coffee. That's lots of caffeine.
We're on the same wavelength right now.
I'm on point today. I just wish my eyes would stop burning.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, wow, $59, that's easy to spend on dog food. And if you have dogs and cats, you can easily make that up with no problem.
Or if you want a bag of dog food, a treat, a bag of treats, and a toy.
Right.
Holy cow.
It's there. And that leads me into my other part to this that I was really, excited to hear is that here he has, warehouses on every single coast. You got it in the Midwest, you got it in the East Coast, you have it. I guess time zone would have been better to say than coast, but no, he thought it all out, and that's one thing that I've noticed by talking to different people is companies like this, and he calls it grassroots, and I would disagree. He's above the grassroots because he's actually exceeded himself to be national.
And he found himself a niche that nobody else wants to do.
Right.
And
do it right. I mean, anybody could do it, but they're doing it right.
I would love to be able to spend hours upon hours researching my dog's dog food to make sure that she's getting the best dog food, making sure that she's going to live the longest that she can and bring joy to our lives for as long as we can. But I don't exactly have the time for that. Mm-hmm. But if you can find one person or one place that you trust,
right,
to do all the research properly, then you can just go ahead and boom, it's simple, it's easy. Everybody needs life to be a little more simpler.
Yeah. This actually seems like it happened.
Right.
I mean, that's how I looked at it. And, at the end, then I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to, touch on the blog. And again, I always think the same thing. It's a company. You're going to be focused on your products and highlighting your products. And here it's like, no, we're actually, talking about, rescues and highlighting different things. I'm going, wow, you successfully figured out a way of using your blog to not just be, this for-profit company that you've already, had success with, but you're actually highlighting the little guy out there who's trying to help animals. And I was taken away. I was like, that's it. I'm in. Mm-hmm. I'm in for that. So I was really happy to actually, talk with him, and it seemed like at every single level, he impressed me. Mm-hmm. Which, it does take a lot, but it did work. So, that's my takeaway from the whole thing. Any other things?
I can probably go for a very long time because dog nutrition is a big part of our lives and what we do. But it's nice to know that you can go to a website that you can trust. And another thing too is that don't get discouraged by a brand of dog food that you've never heard about.
Right.
Okay, everybody's heard of the dog foods that have the most recalls. Everybody's heard of them. That's not a good thing.
Right.
The ones that you don't hear about are the ones that don't get the dog food recalls.
But they're considered to be like non-players in the game.
Exactly, because it seems like bad press is still better than
good
no press.
Right, it's still good press.
Yeah, bad press is better than no press.
Right.
So they push their names out after their dog food saying how they changed things and they haven't. So people get comfortable with that. I was going through their list of dog and cat foods, and it was stuff I've never heard of.
Right. I did research on that, actually.
And then I came across a couple that I did know, which was like chicken soup for the soul dog food, and so forth. So don't be scared by the brand name that you've never heard of.
Right.
There's some very good food out there that you have not heard of.
And you know how you really combat against that is pull up an extra tab, whether it's on your computer or on your phone, and research the product itself. Don't go to the actual product website. Go to a review of it from a middle person, and you'll actually see that, hey, this product is actually really good, but, you got to remember that those products are competing with these big players that are throwing tens of millions of dollars a year to make themselves the way that they are.
And you look at the company that they came from, too.
Yeah.
The actual original company, because each company has the spider legs down on different types of food. Like the Mars company, they have like how many types of dog food?
They're a parent company in so many different ways.
Exactly. So find your source if you want, or you can simply trust these folks that have dedicated their lives towards this. Mm-hmm. And go and take a look. Order a small bag. It doesn't have to be a huge bag, because what happens if you don't like it?
Right.
Then you just
how about your dog doesn't like it?
Exactly. But what happens if your dog really loved it, and within a couple of days you're already noticing a change? And you're like, oh crap, I should have ordered a bigger bag. Oh well, lesson learned. I'm gonna go order a big one next time.
Which leads me to my last thing I'm going to say is I have a link that I'm going to permanently have on every page every time I actually post the podcast, which it will have the link to Canine Cuisine, where you guys can go to, and if you want to order, great. If you want to browse, I guarantee you'll probably say, I gotta have this or that. I mean, their accessories page, did you actually look through that? I was like, wow. I'm like, I like this. This is fun.
And it's nice, too, that it's not just for dogs.
Right.
And honestly, guys, cat food is also used for hedgehogs.
Yes. Yes.
So if you're looking for a hedgehog food, and cat food has been known to be one of the #1 hedgehog foods itself, go ahead on there. Go look at the protein and such. I know, our hedgie.
Grade-free cat food for our hedgie. I mean, seriously, we are these people.
We have grain-free.
I know, but we're those people. I mean, it is kind of funny. I'm pretty sure a lot of people kind of laugh at it, but you know what? We care about the health of all of our animals.
Yeah.
So.
And then Rambo comes over when I'm trying to feed the hedgehog and picks up the little pieces I dropped. I'm like, sweet, I got a vacuum.
He does. He is just so happy when it's time to go feed the hedgehog every night. He's like, ooh, I'm going to get some of this.
And none of the other cats have Oliver's kind of caught on to it, but none of the other cats caught on to that I keep the hedgehog's special food put away. And the cats get good food too. But Rambo likes the different flavors every once in a while, so he'll come over and pick up the last.
Rambo loves anything that's food.
Yeah.
He just loves it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Joshua Barnes, for being on. And what's great is that he'll be back, and I look forward to hearing more about what's going on in Canine Cuisine and all the things that he's involved in. Anything else?
No, I'm good to go.
All right. Well, I'm Chris Green. Have a pet-tastic week.
And I'm Sarah Green, making sure everybody realizes life is so short. Play with your pet.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay, gotta go in my bedtime.